Eu estou muito feliz de recebê-lo novamente na Campus Party. A última vez que ele esteve numa Campus Party foi em 2022. Em 2022, a Campus Party foi lá em São Paulo, que ele teve, e não estava tão cheia, porque as pessoas ainda estavam, por mais que fosse 2022, era o pós-pandemia, né? Então estava todo mundo ainda com medo, sai, pode ir para evento, não pode, ainda não voltou com aquele clima, né, de Campus Party, todo mundo de máscara ainda, alguns, quem perdeu muita gente durante a pandemia, estava mais desconfiado, será que a gente vai poder aglomerar de novo um dia? Então, foi um evento legal, estávamos voltando felizes, mas não foi aquele evento com clima de Campus Party, né? Então, eu fico muito feliz de poder recebê-lo novamente, agora numa Campus Party Goiás, que a Campus Party Goiás ela é diferente. A Campus Party Goiás é uma Campus Party com vibe de campuseiro, onde todos gostam de estar aqui, nós gostamos de estar aqui. Eu não me aguentei na última edição, no encerramento, caí em lágrimas, e lágrimas de emoção, de felicidade, porque de fato aqui a gente vê uma Campus Party diferente. Vocês fazem uma Campus Party diferente. Com vocês, a Campus Party realmente fica diferente aqui em Goiás e sempre tem uma energia diferenciada. E por isso eu gostaria de apresentar a todos vocês, com muito orgulho, muita honra, eu quero receber aqui no palco Orkut! Ladies and gentlemen, vamos receber fazendo barulho, Orkut! Oh! Welcome, my friend.
Boa tarde, Campus Party. Oi, pessoal. So it's my second time at Campus Party. I came here 2 years ago, and it's my first time in Goiânia. I'm very excited to be here. And it's so wonderful to be surrounded with people with whom I can share my passion about technology and, of course, social networks. I love Brazil and I love Brazilians, but actually I grew up in Germany and I'm from Turkey. And I think my exposure to different cultures and communities is what made me insanely passionate about people. And embracing this multiplicity helped me find a commonality in the world that's very global today. So I came to America to study computer science at Stanford. And during my studies, I noticed that most freshmen made friends in their dorms and fraternities their freshman year. And those people became the friends they maintained the rest of college and even the rest of their lives. It seems such a narrow and circumstantial way to meet people. I noticed that I made most of my friends through friends and friends of friends. And with that insight, I decided to launch a social network for Stanford students. I named it Club Nexus. This was in 2001. Nobody had ever heard of social networking. There was no Friendster, no MySpace, no Orkut.com, no Facebook. So after Stanford, when I was about to graduate, I want to keep my existing friendships and relationships. So I launched another social network named InCircle for the Stanford alumni. And then my career continued to Google. I joined Google as a software engineer. And at the time, engineers could spend 20% of their time pursuing personal projects. And Club Nexus was just for Stanford students. InCircle was just for Stanford alumni. And I had friends all over the world, in Turkey, in Germany, in Europe, and I want to create a social network to give everyone in the world the opportunity to connect. So I started working on, the name was Eden, a social platform. I was the only engineer, only designer, I even went to the data centers and set up the servers. Then I had a meeting with Eric Schmidt, who was the CEO, and Marissa Mayer. And they said, why don't we just name it Orkut? You know, you're the only person who worked on it. It's a 5-letter unique word, and already had the domain. So last minute, Eden got launched as Orkut.com, Orkuchi. So social media became mainstream with Friendster, MySpace, Orkut.com, Facebook. All these sites launched between 2002 and 2004, offering services for people to connect with friends. Initially, these sites offered an online space for self-expression. They allowed users to communicate with each other and share updates about their lives. In the early days, people used social media as a digital photo album, or stay up to date with friends and family, or maybe meet someone you would have never met offline. And social networks were very nice and friendly places. But things look very different today. In order to understand the current state of social media, we have to look at the evolution over the years. So before 2009, social networks had a simple feed that was ordered chronologically, with the latest post on top and the oldest one on bottom. That began to change in early 2009 when Facebook introduced the like button. And the same year, Twitter developer Chris Wetherell built the retweet button. And Chris still regrets that today. He said, I could have given a 4-year-old a fully loaded weapon when he saw the first Twitter mob use the tool that he had created. And soon after, Facebook launched another feature that's very similar, the share feature. And something went terribly wrong. The like, retweet, and share buttons gave people the power to influence others, whether their post became popular or viral. And as an unexpected consequence, authentic and meaningful connections no longer mattered. To this day, what matters is numbers, it's engagement numbers, it's not humans' feelings. So the algorithm started reordering the flat hierarchy of credibility. A post, no matter how harmful, vulgar, or fake it was, could stick to the top of your feed as long as it generated engagement. And posts that triggered emotions like anger or hate were most likely to be shared. By 2012, most of the world started using social media regularly. And as a result, we massively increased our information consumption from our feeds. But it wasn't just funny cat videos and celebrity gossip anymore. It was misleading, fabricated news and hoaxes. Today, there is a tremendous amount of technology that incorporates machine learning and AI into the algorithms. And the algorithms create our feeds, what we scroll through day and night, every day. What people don't realize is that these algorithms are optimized for engagement and virality. And it's this optimization that makes social media immensely profitable, but also very harmful if it's done the wrong way. Why? Because humans make decisions in predictable ways, and that makes them prone to manipulation. Today, we live in a surveillance capitalism environment. Every single human experience is turned into data. That data is used to build models, for every human to predict and manipulate their behavior. So companies are able to facilitate manipulation. So it's just a matter of what the goal is. Is the goal to increase revenue, or is the goal to increase happiness and togetherness? Today, social media is all about profit. It's not about creating a better user experience. And that's what makes it so harmful. Let's try to think about what this would be like in another scenario. Let's say I'm a restaurant owner. I have a restaurant. So the quality of the food has an impact on the profit, right? I can decrease the quality and make more money. Let's say there's a point in which if you degrade the quality 1%, your customers can get sick. Would you do that? Would you degrade your product and risk people's lives? Let's say you can double or triple your profit, but there is 1 in 10,000 chance that your customer can die from food poisoning. And no one will ever find out. Would you do it? And social media today is not that different. Companies know that their algorithms are creating massive amounts of anxiety, depression, and even leading to suicide. Research shows that the percentage of time spent looking at social media profiles increases the rate of social comparison. And social comparison leads to negative feelings like envy and depression. I'm not fine with people sitting in a conference room making a cost-benefit analysis with no regard for humanity or society. The story is too familiar. You know, back in the day, tobacco companies said smoking doesn't harm or kill people. Big Pharma pushed opioids saying that they're not addictive. We, the users, the content creators, are almost programmed to fight for engagement on social media. We push ourselves on popularity, and social media has turned posting into a public performance. Online, we post for everyone to see. People can see what we do with our posts, our likes, our retweets, our shares, our friends, our followers. And our posts rise to fame or disgrace depending on the clicks of thousands of strangers. And we contribute thousands of clicks to the game. And this game encourages dishonesty and mob behavior. So we are lured in a circus, fighting for engagement, instead of embracing our individuality and showing our true selves. In the movie American Gangster, Denzel Washington said, "The loudest one in the room is the weakest one." Normally, when we are in a group situation, we try to avoid the loudest person, right? The loud voice is probably trying to overcompensate because true strength doesn't need to yell. Bullies speak loudly with confidence, but their arguments have no strength. I've been very vocal the past decade about how social media is creating distrust, pessimism, isolation, unhappiness, depression, anxiety, and mental health issues. Today, we know that social media is causing depression, anxiety, and even leading to suicide. So I went to Stanford, which is in Palo Alto, and Palo Alto is located at the heart of Silicon Valley. When I was at college, my very close friend said Espinosa was the mayor of Palo Alto. And if you ask Sid, what was the hardest thing you faced when you are in the office, he would say it was Palo Alto teenage suicides that happened between 2009 and 2010. Over the course of 9 months, 6 teenagers took their lives on train tracks. I still get chills when I hear the whistle of the train running through the suburbs, and I remember the horrific deaths of these children. There were so many suicide attempts that parents and volunteers started monitoring the train tracks to prevent further loss of life. 2 schools in particular, Gun and Palo Alto High School, were hit the hardest by the spate of suicides. And the problems persisted over the years, and by 2015, the suicide rate in these 2 schools was more than 4 times the national average. One of the most disturbing things about the Palo Alto teen suicide crisis is that these young people, they were not outcasts. They were just regular kids. They didn't have any markers for mental illness. So what happened? Schools in Silicon Valley have very ambitious students that come from very wealthy and educated families. So what happened? Students going to schools in Silicon Valley said that they had to keep up with their peers constantly. There was extreme pressure to keep up with academic and extracurricular activities. And the competitive pressure reached very unhealthy levels. And what's happening today in social media is very similar to what happened in Palo Alto with the teen mental health crisis and suicides. It's about social pressure. And today we get so much pressure on social media, on the Facebooks, Instagrams, and TikTok, and that's affecting our mental health. And this problem is not limited to Silicon Valley, it's all over the world. If you look at America, for instance, between 2007 and 2021, the incidence of suicide for the ages 10 to 25 increased 62%. If you look at Brazil, the suicide rate decreased, but actually self-harm increased tremendously for especially high school kids. Just the other week, I was chatting with a lady who has a teenage daughter, and she said that her daughter's class is only like 24 people, and 2 of them got already hospitalized because of self-harm. The Center of Disease Control and Prevention did this study in 2021. And they found out that 1 out of 3 teenage girls made plans to commit suicide. 1 out of 3. And 10 years before, this number was 1 out of 5. It would be almost irresponsible to talk about the teen mental health crisis and not mention the well-documented effects of social media on the teenage brain. Social media platforms that were just created a few miles down from Palo Alto and Gun High School amplify the pressure that these young people are feeling. Instagram, for instance, encourages people to present themselves in idealized way. The app was specifically engineered to show unrealistic depictions of life. People looking perfect, hanging out with perfect friends, going on perfect vacation, taking perfect selfies. The teen mental health epidemic is international. Teen mental health plummeted, especially for girls and especially in the most individualistic nations. If you look at Brazil, for instance, the number of incidents for depression doubled even before the pandemic. If you look at across the United States, increased use of social media is attributed to anxiety, depression, and higher rates of suicide. According to a study at Brigham Young University, teenagers at the age of 13 who use social media 2 or more hours a day are at the highest risk of suicide. And if you look at like just the past 10 years, depression increased 145% for girls and 161% for boys. And let's look at anxiety across different age groups. So there's a heavy increase in anxiety, especially for the younger people, and especially after 2010. So early 2010 is when the mental health crisis started. And this coincides with the change of algorithms that curate our feeds and a rapid movement from flip phones, where you can do social media, to smartphones, where you do social media, and a phone-based childhood. Gun violence, stabbings, school shootings, they're happening today. They're happening because social media amplifies our feelings of isolation, exclusion, and invisibility. I feel like the world is on fire. So back in my day, when I was in high school or college, we would have fire drills. What if there's a fire at school? How do you get safely out of campus, right? Today, in America, in elementary schools, high schools, and colleges, they have drills for active shooters. What if someone walks in a school campus with a gun? How do you make sure you don't die? What's really alarming is that social media companies know about this, but they don't do anything about it. Instagram, they knew that some of the content they had was creating body image issues for teenagers, and especially teenage girls were committing suicide. They knew about it. Did they do anything about it? It's not in their interest because they love all the engagement. They can always get more resources and put more money into moderation and make the necessary tools to make sure that the content is safe. So Mark Zuckerberg said 90% of the harmful content is removed, right, from Meta. Like imagine you walk to McDonald's, right, and one of the 10 cheeseburgers is poisonous. Would you eat that cheeseburger? Let's talk about Twitter. They know that there's like massive misinformation, a lot of spam bots and fake accounts. Can they do something about it? Of course they can, but it's not in their benefit. Because all this fake engagement helps them make more profit through advertisements. Us, especially in tech, we need to create better software. We need to have the right intentions. We need to have the right conscience. Social media today is heavily weaponized for more engagement, because more engagement means more advertising, and more advertising means more revenue. I believe in a different kind of social media. I know that what connects us is what we have in common. Orkut communities are all about bringing people together around things that we love. So people, they came together, shared, had fun, and seized the moment, right? I feel like we have never been more divided. The digital revolution has shattered our society. The public isn't one anymore, but highly divided and fragmented. Online, we're just living in our own bubbles and yelling at each other. According to a survey in America, only 6% comprise the devoted conservatives, and only 8% comprise progressive activists of the population. But 70% of users on social media shared political news. These two groups are elite white rich groups. They don't represent the general society, but they're tearing the country apart with their wars. Let's talk about COVID. During COVID, there was a small group of people who were trying to minimize the risks and dangers of COVID. And there was a small group of people that were committed to spreading fear and maximizing the harm. We know that there is a correlation with fake vaccination news and people not getting vaccinated. We know that the COVID vaccine saved tens of millions of lives worldwide. So the fake misinformation on social media affected our kids, our schools, our businesses, our health professionals, and global health. Social media's empowerment to the far left, far right, domestic trolls, foreign agents is creating a system that's dissolving our society and hurting our democracies. Today we live in an illusion. Every day we receive a cascade of updates from our friends. There are fancy dinner parties. There are never-ending vacations and travels around the world. There are selfies with celebrities. We forget that all these moments are face-tuned and filtered. We forget that all these moments are not real. So we start pretending to be what we're not just to fit in. We become victims of the game. We carry the blame, the guilt, and the shame. We tell ourselves, I'm not good enough. I'm not intelligent enough. I'm not attractive enough. I'm not worthy of love. Being our true selves has become our biggest fear. We are so scared of rejection and disapproval that we hide ourselves as one of the many. On social media, we all look the same. We are all sheep. We all behave the same. We are worried about being the black sheep. And despite our selfish, selfie tendencies, every day we have to interact with our friends and family, with our neighbors and coworkers, with the teachers and lawyers and doctors, with the grocery store attendant and the Uber driver, and even politicians. How can a televised world driven by celebrated narcissism show us how to treat each other? How can we find love and companionship in a culture that promotes selfishness and superficiality? Well, I'm here to tell you that we can. We can meet people and lean on them. We can make new friends. And we can share moments of joy. We can find love, empathy, and community online if we truly look for it. We can fill the world with our love and warmth instead of our insecurities and uncertainties. It is so important to be aware that we're all mortal human beings. It is so important to seize the moment. And it could be as simple as having a great conversation with a friend over a cup of coffee or a caipirinha, or maybe 2 caipirinhas. Make the most of each day. Live life to the fullest. Do something meaningful in life. Be who you are and do what you love. Life is too short. Do not be afraid of judgment or being wrong. Don't be afraid of friendship or romance, a bad joke, or a good laugh. Never be afraid of a good life, or a bad joke, or consequences. And certainly, never be afraid of life. No matter how hard and unfair life has been to you, love life back and embrace it without reservation, regret, or remorse. Social media is going to stay in our lives, and they're going to keep impacting us more and more. They're affecting our relationships, our communities, governments, everything we hear, do, feel, and touch. But with social media algorithms optimized to increase happiness, togetherness, and community, we can change negative trajectory to a positive one. And the best example is Orkut.com. We never try to manipulate people's feelings for engagement or profit. People remember Orkut as a platform where they met their best friend, they got their dream job, they fell in love. The platform made people feel less lonely, more connected, and happier. And that's what social networking is about. It's about being social. It's about bringing people together. It's about empowering communities. It's about creating a better world and society. I believe that social media, and it's kind of funny, I'm saying social media, like back in the day, we called it social networking, but now social media is more about advertisers and creators and corporations and third parties and board members than the actual users. So we call it social media. But I believe that social media has a power not to only change ourselves, but the world for the better. What I found with people using our platforms was that they were not just making friends online, they were falling in love and getting married and starting families. What I found in my journey was that people were not just sharing opinions online, but they were getting together, organizing, and starting social justice campaign and raising money for causes because we gave them a place where they can connect. Life is complicated and strange and messy, but also wonderful and beautiful. But above all, it's filled with passion. And if there's like one thing I learned about Brazilians is that you're all so passionate. Your heart is filled with passion. You're passionate about family. You're passionate about friends. You're passionate about work. You're passionate about empathy and kindness and togetherness. You're passionate about dancing. You're passionate about the carnival. You're passionate about the barbecues. Like passion is everywhere. And we are all on a journey to fulfill our passions. We are all trying to find meaning and purpose in the throes of uncertainty. We all want love. We all want friendship. We all want to belong. Your heart is a mirror reflecting your true self, inside and outside, online and offline. Open your heart and let the sun shine on everything that's good inside of you. When you wake up in the morning, look at this mirror. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Be comfortable in your own body. And be ready for the decisions that you are going to make that day. And when you make a decision, don't follow your fears. Follow your heart. Obrigado. Thank you. Okay.
Pessoal, a gente vai abrir para algumas perguntas, tá bom? Quem quiser fazer uma pergunta, é só levantar a mão.
Yeah. Okay.
O meu não tá ligado?
Sounds good.
Camila. Pode perguntar em português, tá? Que aí eu vou traduzir aqui.
Eles estão esperando um fone para dar para ele para fazer a tradução.
Não vai precisar de fone, eu vou traduzir para ele.
Ah,
Pode fazer em
tranquilo,
português,
tranquilo.
por favor.
Boa tarde. Eu gostaria de saber se tem alguma possibilidade do Orkut voltar.
He would like to know if there's
É o
any
sonho de
possibility
todos.
of Orkut coming back. Orkut.com coming back. If there's a dream of that happening.
So I'm working on a new social platform, and it's optimized for three things. It's optimized for positivity, connection, and community. And that was also the core of Orkut.com, because it was all about connection and communities. So we haven't made any official announcements yet, but something is coming soon. Stay tuned.
Ali no fundão, de camiseta preta. Bom, todo mundo tá de camiseta preta. Ali.
Hello, can you guys hear me? All right, I can speak some English, so... First of all, merhabalar, nasılsınız? I lived for a year in Turkey back in 2014. And my question is, how did your Turkish upbringing and this multiculturalism you spoke about at the beginning, how did this impact the way you see people, how you, this will you have to connect people, you know? How did this affect you?
That's a really good question. So if you look at social media today, oftentimes it's designed by a committee. You know, people get together in a room and they decide on the product features, they decide on the colors. With Orkut.com, it was a very different experience, because I was the only person who worked on it. I came up with the features, I came up with the colors. For instance, I love the color blue, so you know, it does a little like pastel blue on the website and app. And if you look at Turkish culture, we share a lot of like the same traits with Brazilians, right? I don't know if you've been to Turkey, but like Turkish people, they are super friendly. They're very welcoming. They're all about family. It's all about connection. And there's so much kindness in their hearts. And when I look at Brazilians, I see all these personality traits and values that are very similar to Turkish people. And I think my background helped come up with the design that brought like community and connection into Orkut. And I think that's also why a lot of people think that I'm Brazilian, because I share a lot of the same values.
Você aqui.
I'm here. I'm Kenneth, which is, of course, not a very Brazilian name, but congratulations on your very important message. I see that the Social Dilemma documentary was very important into raising awareness about the negative impacts of social media. Do you feel like this message on advocacy, like your message, is it growing, like this awareness in the world? Can we see at least a light at the end of the tunnel for this?
So there is definitely awareness now. At this point in time, we know how social media is impacting our mental health and our connections. But if you look at Meta, right, they study the teenage brain to make sure that they get all the teenagers addicted to social media. And as a result, we have this super unhealthy addiction to toxic social media platforms. If you look like today, the average teenager uses Instagram or TikTok 2 to 7 hours a day. I'm like, how can a kid have like 7 hours to spend on social media? But it's a true story. Like, I was talking to a friend of mine, and he said his daughter was on TikTok 7 hours a day, and they were able to get it down to like 3 hours. And what's the solution? I think the solution is to stop using toxic apps. We have to stop using software that is not value-driven. We have to stop using applications that are run by profiteers. And I think like more than ever in time, in moments of like suffering and adversity in history, what we need that to inspire us and lead us to positive change. And that's my goal, to create a social media that brings the spirit of social networking back. So building a platform that's about social networking, not for social media and, profiteers.
Ok. A você,
Thank you.
você, dá tempo de fazer as duas? Você, por favor. De cabelinho cacheadinho. Você mesmo. Depois é você, tá?
Boa tarde. Eu gostaria de saber se você acredita que o futuro das redes sociais continua sendo a comunidade, e se não é a comunidade em si, qual que é o caminho que daqui para frente ela vai continuar tomando?
In the future of social network, do you believe communities is the way? And if it's not communities, what would be the way?
I think communities is the way. Now, like, what has changed between Orkut.com and what's happening today, right? Like, back in the day, it was all about sharing. It was all about communicating and having meaningful interactions, right? What happens on social media today? It's endless browsing. You're just browsing, and then you're liking posts. When you comment, the comment is not meaningful, right? So we're all like doom scrolling and feeling sad and depressed about our lives because we look at everyone else, and everyone else is always doing so much better than us. And they will be doing better because they share their fake realities. I had a friend from like elementary school. When I look at her social media, she looks like she had the best life out of all of my classmates. She's always partying, drinking, having fun, right? And then I met her over coffee, and she was a divorced single mom. She could hardly go out and spend time with her friends. And she was really struggling financially and socially. But if you look at her social media, like, she has the best life. So that's what's happening today. You know, the 13-year-old teenager gets up from bed, takes a shower, makes her hair, puts makeup on, and then goes back into bed and takes a photo and says, I woke up like this. And then all her friends look at her post on Instagram and they think, oh, I look like crap when I wake up. And it doesn't matter like how perfect your life is. Like, even if you go on vacation, if you have the best hotel, someone has the best hotel and best hotel room. So you can never compare. And that's why it's so important to be aware of social media apps that are actually not beneficial for our mental health and for our society.
Isso. Aí.
Eu queria saber, em relação aos influencers jovens que têm criticado a educação, e aí entra também no ponto inteligência artificial. Porque hoje você tem inteligência artificial que qualquer pergunta que você tiver, você pergunta lá e ele te responde. Então, a gente acaba acostumando a não querer estudar para poder usar a inteligência artificial. E, por outro lado, a inteligência artificial ela é alimentada com as informações da internet, que tem sido muita fake news. Então,
Deixa eu
como
só
é
ver
que...
se eu entendi a pergunta para traduzir. Você quer saber se a inteligência artificial atrapalha ou ajuda a educação? É
Não,
isso?
eu quero saber a opinião dele em relação a essa questão de jovens na educação e a inteligência
She
artificial.
wants to know your opinion in the use of intelligence, artificial intelligence. How is this affecting the education and information level to especially teenagers?
It's funny because I wasn't surprised that nobody mentioned AI yet. And here comes the AI question, right? AI is already making social media so much worse. On Facebook, you see all these AI-generated photos, and most people, they can't even tell the difference. They can't tell if it's an actual photo or AI-generated. On Instagram, there are profiles that are completely generated by AI. And they are commenting every day, they are responding to your messages, and you have no idea that you're talking to a machine or about not an actual human being.
Okay.
Do you want to translate?
Yes. No, because they have translation
Okay,
on the
got it.
headset. So the last question, because the queue on the meet and greet is already happening. Gente, já tem fila lá para tirar foto com ele. Então vai dar para fazer só mais uma pergunta aqui que eu preciso levá-lo lá. Tá bom? Quem que era? Você, né? Vamos lá?
Alô?
Ei, antes de ir embora, pessoal, vamos dar uma salva de palmas aqui, né? Pro Orkut.
So I actually wanted to make 3 questions, but the time is really tight, so I'm gonna go straight to it. You mentioned you have a new project for a social media that's upcoming, and if you could tell us what are your projects on dealing with the way social media is right now? Like, how do you deal with extremely personalized algorithms, bots, and what's like concrete actions you're gonna take on your social media to avoid this kind of thing?
It's believe it or not, it has a very simple answer. So there's an algorithm that curates your feed, right? Your social media feed. Instead of optimizing that algorithm for profit, you optimize it for happiness, togetherness, and community. And things like connection, things like happiness, you can actually quantitatively measure them using technology. It's just a matter of like, how do you use the technology? Do you use the technology to profit, or do you use the technology to bring people together and make them happier?
Pessoal, a gente não tem mais tempo.
Obrigado, I love you.
Se alguém precisar, manda a pergunta para a gente por e-mail. A gente interage depois. E as fotos agora ali. Tá bom? Muito obrigada. Tchau, tchau.